Let me just bring in my guests here in studio. Like I promised, we now have Amos Kimunya, who's a KPP Member of Parliament. He's seated and makes extreme right. Thank you very much for coming. Great to see you.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. So we also have Opio Wandai, who's a Gunja Member of Parliament. Thank you very much for coming on the show. All right, gentlemen, I'd like just to start from that reporting from my colleague, talking about public participation specifically. Does it really, these views that are put across by the public, do they really matter, or is it just something that is procedural? I'll start with you, Mr. Amos.
They obviously matter, and I think this is one of the most innovative issues that came out of the 2010 Constitution. That much as we represent people, there is some people out there who feel they are not adequately represented by the members of Parliament, and they need to have their voice heard. And hence, the 2010 Constitution created that avenue that whenever there's a law, whenever there's any action proposed by government, let it be subjected to extra public views. I represent the people of Kipipiri. My colleague represents the people of Guja, yeah? And we don't have to go back to them. I can go and consult them. But then there's a whole group of civil society who don't have anyone who represents them in Parliament. And, you know, they want to participate. There's a whole group of private sector who, as a group, are not a constituency represented in Parliament. And they need their voice, you know, heard. And so public participation is important, and I believe has enriched our law-making process.
All right.
And I'm very encouraged. Like, even on this controversial bill, the level of interest is so high.
And it is high. And the reason I ask this is, you know, we had another controversial bill, you know, just maybe 2 years back, you know, the security one. And, you know, there was quite an uproar. And many Kenyans went before a committee like this one and gave out their, you know, their opinion and their submissions about this. But later on, seemingly, you know, all these things did not really come to fruition. All these, you know, proposals or the feedback that was given really did not make, you know, to the end of the table at that time.
But I think still, even at that point, the fact that the public participated. So even when the bill was challenged, part of that public participation was used to actually correct the situation.
All right, let me hear you.
So it's important that people actually participate because it gives a reference point. In case there's a challenge in future, it's like, what was, you know, was this just a matter of parliamentarians or one party, or did they carry the mood of the nation with it?
All right, we'll be coming to that shortly.
You know, Betty, public participation in lawmaking process, it's not just desirable. It's a requirement of the Constitution. Yeah, and there's really no two ways about it. Parliament has to involve the public, yes, in the process of making laws. Under ideal situations. But of course, I'm talking about a different situation as, now. You know, from where we sit, what is currently happening at County Hall, we don't view it as regular or proper, and therefore, really, even the participation by the public is not going to make any difference. Yeah, from where we sit.
To add any value?
It can't, because the whole process is flawed. Yeah, I think yesterday we spoke to this matter at length. In Parliament, yeah, and I and my fellow, my colleagues from the NASA side, yeah, immediately Parliament set out on the wrong footing by purporting to establish the House Business Committee without the involvement of membership from the NASA side. We were definitely going to face a lot of hurdles.
But it's in NASA that did not present the names.
It is simplistic to argue so, yeah. But if you get the facts, then you realize that NASA is not to be faulted on this matter. Because you'll recall, Betty, that when Parliament convened, when the Electoral Parliament convened for the first time, as is indeed proper, the first business was to constitute the House Business Committee after the swearing in of members. Yeah. Yeah, and there's a time frame. It's not supposed to be done instantly. And NASA did argue that they were not ready yet with the names of their members to sit on that committee. Okay? What did the Speaker and the rest of the House do? They trashed NASA's position and went ahead to constitute that committee in defiance, in contravention of the standing orders that govern the conduct of business in the House. If you look at Standing Order 171, it's very clear that you cannot have a House Business Committee without membership from the other side.
No.
But that aside, why I'm raising that is that it is the genesis of the problems we have, in the sense that the House Business Committee is the only committee that sets the agenda for the House, that determines the business to be transacted in the House, including the business that purported to constitute this committee, this joint ad hoc committee that is looking at these amendment proposals. Okay? On its own, but the mere fact that the House Business Committee, which initiated it, was wrongfully constituted, makes it illegal. But even more so, the mere fact, again, that this ad hoc committee, this ad hoc joint committee, that is currently sitting at County Hall, does not have membership from NASA side.
All right.
Makes it even more illegal.
Let me correct some situation. Because, you cannot create mischief and want to be a beneficiary of the same mischief. Kenyans went to elections on 8th. And all the NASA colleagues subjected themselves to an election and said to the people, we want you to elect us so we can represent you in Parliament.
Yes.
They came to Parliament, they were sworn in. Right? Then we said, let's sit. Because you've been sworn in, Parliament has work to do. And Parliament works through committees. The first committee is the House Business Committee. And it's a straightforward committee saying, we want so many people from NASA, including your majority, the leader of the minority, plus your whip. Those are fixed positions, and 2 other members, or 3. Now, NASA said they are not ready because, A, they were not even sure who will be their leader of the minority.
Yes.
Up to now, they are not sure who is their whip. Okay? Because they are still fighting over, should they go to the coast, should they go to Western, should they go where? Okay? They don't even know who else to appoint. So, are we going to be held at ransom that Parliament, constituted by the whole Kenyans, will not sit until NASA gets its house in order? Committees are determined not by the composition. It's by the quorum. And the quorum for House Business Committee is very clear in the standing orders. It's the chairman plus any 4 members, right? So long as you have that quorum, business must continue.
All right.
Now, the business that has been brought to the floor of the House, I'm happy that despite the advisories given by the NASA leadership, the members of NASA have been coming to Parliament. They've been signing. They've been participating. They have even been voting. Even on this matter of setting up the committee, they actually voted. They lost and walked out. It's on record who voted where. So the issue is, you cannot say we are not participating, yet you're participating, right? You cannot say the House is illegitimate, yet you're actually part of the proceedings of Parliament. But because of, these wrangles within NASA and indecisiveness, and the fact that they are minority, and there's a frustration, and we can appreciate it, that whatever we do, we are going to lose anyway, okay? Even the election, even if we go to the election, we are going to lose anyway. So that frustration, we feel it, and we sympathize with them. But that is what the Kenyan people decided on the 8th, that Jubilee wins. The presidency wins the Senate, wins the National Assembly, wins the governor.
Maybe that's
what Kenyans decided. Never mind that these guys went to court and used processes, not numbers, used processes to then invalidate our win. Okay? And we respected that and said, fine, the courts have decided, and since even if we repeat it, we are going to win again anyway. Let's go back and win it again.
All right.
You know.
But because they know they are going to lose again, they now don't want that. They don't want to participate in Parliament. They don't want people to make laws. They don't want people to go to work. They don't want anything.
My colleague really talked at length. Yeah, but I have to give him the benefits because he's been out for a while of Parliament.
And I've been watching.
Yeah,
which is very good.
One thing you need to understand, and other Kenyans really need to understand, is that we don't do things simply to address the whims of the people who control the process at the moment. We must be alive to the fact that we're living in a democratic state. In fact, if you look at our constitution, the 2010 constitution, you don't look at it in isolation. You need to look at it holistically. The underlying philosophy that runs through that constitution is that this Kenya is a democratic multi-party state.
Yes.
Okay? And it is the same constitution that gives rise to the other laws that are supposed to give effect to it, including the standing orders. So that any time we are talking about standing orders, must appreciate the fact that it flows from the constitution.
Exactly.
And you cannot just assume that simply because you have numbers. And the Jubilee had numbers even in the last parliament, by the way, where I served. So those numbers did not make Jubilee constitute committees without NASA or CORD then.
Right.
Okay? So without really belaboring the point of the composition of these committees, the fact of the matter is that the committees are currently constituted. If I talk about my friend William Cheptumo's committee, which is the most important one as of now, that committee is currently constituted, can continue having meetings, can continue listening to people's views. Of course, Kenyans will always talk. If you set up a committee in County Hall and invite them to come, they'll come. Not because they are really interested in that committee, but because they've got an opportunity to talk anyway. So, but at the end of the day, I want to make it very, very clear that whatever comes out of that committee's proceedings, the product will remain legitimate, will remain legal, until
Baba says
and the
it's
time
okay.
will vindicate us.
All right.
Is that what we are saying? That
we're
it will be
back.
illegal until Baba says it's okay. Because you guys, you are refusing to participate in parliament. Granted, because you know you risk losing your seats, you know, I've seen some action in terms of people coming, signing up, going, some participating, going. So perhaps there's some defiance, and we are happy that there's some defiance to some domination by the leadership, and some people actually, you know, being self-driven and coming to parliament. And what we are saying is that we cannot hold the lives of 45 million Kenyans at ransom because, you know, 3 people have decided to say, don't participate in parliament, don't go to work, go to the streets, don't go for elections, right? Kenya must move on. And my colleague is right. Kenya is a democratic state. And in democracy, you go for what does the majority want us to do. And the majority have decided they want to go in a certain direction. The minority, we want to carry them along. And we're encouraging them. Please join us, right?
They're having questions about, you know, the process, especially to do with this particular bill with regard to the election laws. There are questions about the process, you know, that was undertaken to bring this proposed laws, you know, up to this to the discussion right now that we're having. But